Brainwave. Now, this is the disruptive one, but it might be new to you, but I've been working on it for 30 years. So it's my life work. And now I've got the international patent coverage. I'm able to talk about it. And I use computational neuroscience to help train down the annoyance and the awareness of it dramatically. And it can help you sleep, concentrate, relax, improve your sound tolerance. And so now we have a manual version of a minimum viable product, and so I make it up myself. And with these series of prescriptive algorithms which customize 4D sound recordings, wave sound recordings, into a relaxing ultra-high frequency stimulus. So this constitutes more of software as a medical device, and we can dispense it for at least a quarter of the cost of medical devices, and a lot more effective usually. But if we look at the frequency ranges, maybe we start from the bottom, around 8,000. Around speech finishes about 7,000. The standard hearing test frequencies are around 8. Neuromonics iPhone program, it only stimulates up to 8 kilohertz when they don't have the high frequency input. If you test it yourself, it negates the top end one, so it's not very helpful. Hearing aids max out at about 10,000. Neuromonics device went out to 12, but that's now defunct. All the patents have run out. But it had one of the highest frequency ranges, which would have made it so popular back in the day. But BrainwaveTRx, we stimulate and measure right up to 16,000 hertz. And this is the back of some international standards which have made it sort of consolidated as a viable thing. And certainly in my earlier PhD work, I found that if we narrowed how much high frequencies there are in the stimuli, we needed to be louder before it masked the tinnitus, and the more of the high frequencies, the less we needed. So I've known that for a long time. And I've known for a long time that pitch matching, if you don't test for the higher frequencies, you don't give people an option to say that's really the pitch of my tinnitus. So yeah, it's the extra high frequencies that is a key part of it, and one of the unique things that patent claims on that. So here's just a bit of a schematic idea of the hearing test results, and each person's hearing loss is very much like a fingerprint, and go through my series of algorithms, which there's a lot of steps involved to get prescribed the output as far as frequency response, but then through another series of algorithms to prescribe the output limiting in a custom kind of way. So it undergoes a hell of a lot of training, processing. And if we compare the original recording, which is super high fidelity, and then how much of the customized stimuli we need to mask, the minimum masking level, it's a very useful measure. We found that on the first 36 patients, the difference between the original recording and the customized was 8 dB. And if you consider around that part of the speech range, around 6 dB is doubling of loudness perceptually. So you can see why it's the difference between being tolerable or not. So even though the original 3D recordings I do and convert to 4D are super high fidelity, the customized one is very different in terms of its results and the difference between viable or not when you're trying to sleep or relax, So as far as the number of processes, the source mastering, like mastering of the recordings, we have to convert from 3D to 4D, so make some of the waves move dynamically in time to kind of normalize it a bit. So that's a 5-step process to have a master recording. And then to individualize from your test results, the pitch, loudness, minimum masking level, hearing thresholds, my prescriptive algorithms, there's 16 different steps involved to get a prescription. And then to produce it, the audio digital signal processing to make your own custom treatment, there's 9 steps. And then to dispense it to an IRX device and the different clinical protocols, there's another 12 steps. So that's like 42 steps of processing to make that treatment, train down your tinnitus. So slightly more detail. It's software-based to make the stimuli for each person, different parameters. And the idea is to give you relief at a much lower loudness level than would be possible with uncustomized recording. And and you use it at peak times to help overcome the effects of tinnitus. And then neurologically, we're going to train down the intrusiveness in the long run. So it's far more efficient stimulation of all your auditory pathways, the full range of key frequencies to maximize the neuroplastic change, which is getting to the key of what makes the tinnitus so annoying. So it's configured for the unique characteristics of the various water sounds that we use, and certainly novel enough to circumvent any prior art tinnitus treatments. So there's even more detail involved, but I want to keep this layperson friendly. So now we've got a rehab program. So you need to get, one way or another, some sort of IRX device, an iPhone or iPad, and AirPods. A new AirPod 4 are ideal, but 3s are great. Pro 2s are right if we make some modifications. And then we produce a custom stimuli which you reproduce through your AirPods, and we calibrate it to what model you have. And the idea is to use it when the tinnitus is annoying to mask it, because you're replacing the unpleasant internal sound with the more pleasant external sound that you can ignore. Because as you know, people can live under a flight path or a busy road, and after a few weeks they're kind of used to it, but tinnitus is very different because it's not a sound. It's a neurological event. So if you replace it with a sound, you can get some relief of sorts at the time, and that's good at the time, but it can also help you relax and find your breath come down to meet the rate of the waves, and it can help you ease off to sleep and get over that vicious cycle of tinnitus stress exacerbation. But with continuous use, the amount of time that you become aware of the tinnitus, even with it off, gradually reduces. The sound tolerance increases, and tinnitus goes way, way back into the background. So in the early days, you use the treatment when the tinnitus is most annoying, and as it becomes less annoying, you can kind of use it less. But you really, in the first few months, you want to have at least for 3 hours a day. And if we look at some data, we have found in the past that this is still very highly dose related. Like the more you use it, the better the outcome. And this is data on the earlier neuromonics medical device, and now defunct one, which published in Ear and Hearing, which actually has the highest 5-year impact rating of any of the ENT journals, the most rigorous ear, nose and throat surgery journal out there. And they love this data because it showed that people that used the treatment greater than 2 hours a day had a much greater percentage improvement in the tinnitus reaction than those that used it for 1.5 or under 2. That was at 4 months, that data. 3 months is 3 hours a day is what we want for the earlier one. So, but because it can work at such a low volume level, it can be really intrusive. So you can do it while you're wandering around, or dishes, cooking, working on a computer, etc. But we're still stimulating all the neural pathways. But more the better, because 3 hours a day, it's still 21 hours a day the brain's starving for sound. So anyway, we like to follow up with Brainwave at 2, 4 and 6 months. And that's all bundled in the treatment program. But then we'll keep seeing into the tinnitus is no longer a problem. So that's all part of the process. But some of the data is just outstanding for myself. At 4 weeks, getting much faster response than I've ever seen before. So more than 3/4 of people at only 4 months had an improvement of loudness discomfort levels of at least 5 decibels, which is a huge amount at that end of the scale. More than 3/4 at only 4 months, had improvement in how much noise you need to mask it. So less noise, more of the everyday sound masks it. More than 80% had improvements in percentage time people were aware and disturbed by the tinnitus of at least 40%. So very clinically significant, very efficient. And we're getting those sorts of results at 4 months, which we used to previously see maybe at 6 or 8 months or so. So super happy with that. Here's this one case study, which was spectacular because at 4 months, it's already 67% better in terms of his effect and quality of life. But the pitch change, which we used to see very rarely, now I see all the time. The actual pitch of the tinnitus comes right down, as well as the loudness. There's something really neuroplastic going on there. How much noise you need to mask it from 74 to 41. Loudness discomfort levels going from 85 to 105. So there's some massive changes there. So it is now not usually aware of the tinnitus during the day and has no annoyance And that's at 4 months. It's even better again. So that's very unusual in tinnitus treatments, but this is not an unusual case. I love to do meta-analyses. I've published quite a few of these over the years, and it measures how consistently effective a treatment is. So Cohen's D is the most common one, and so that's the pre-therapy tinnitus questionnaires minus 4 months or 6 months. This is data at 4 months, but divided by the standard deviation, which is the variation, how consistently effective it is. And when we get a Cohen's D of over 2 for brainwave, that's astonishing. It's markedly better than Neuromonics medical device. Hearing aids from this external study, I presented this in the US at the American Academy of Audiology, and this is data from other people. We're finding on average the effect size of hearing aids was low, but if the tinnitus was able to be masked by the hearing aid by partial, the effect size was markedly better. And in the rare cases where the hearing aids were able to fully mask, it was like the best of the lot. So certainly it does come down to the pitch of the tinnitus versus the upper bandwidth of the pitch of the hearing aid. So certainly the general data shows that it's not great, but if you get the right person, it certainly can be, and the right hearing aids. But cognitive behaviour therapy from this study, published study, it was actually not much better than ginkgo biloba, which is sort of into the trivial range. So there's plenty more in there, but I just want to give you an idea that this is the best way to compare your treatments. So that's just a bit of a snippet of our processes at Tinnitus Telecare. We are a genuine evidence-based tinnitus clinic with doctoral level audiologists, and has other people referred to as a centre of excellence, so I'm happy with that. And I think it's partly because we treat each case individually, whatever suits the person according to their test results and their lifestyle and the case history, etc. And we also do some general audiology as well. But tinnitus is by far the main thing. Hyperacusis, which is so incredibly allied. And now with telehealth, we can welcome people from all around the world. And email is usually the best place to start for that. And there's more information on our tinnitusTelecare.com as well too. But anyway, hopefully that's given you something to think about. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.